Hey class, this is just a final brief video about your homework. In the assignment, I link you to this spreadsheet here. Okay, when you first go into the spreadsheet, go to File, make a copy to create a version that you can edit on your own Google Drive. You can't edit my version, obviously. Okay, so this sheet, okay, has a number of different tabs. So the first tab you see here on the bottom is the raw data from our class survey. Okay, so the results are mostly in. You can see we have a number of different people's answers to all these different questions. Now, we are going to take a little bit of a look at this data set today, but next class is going to be the bulk of us examining this data set. Okay, so we'll only take a brief look this time. Following this class survey tab, there are 3 tabs which we are going to use to do a variety of different kinds of statistics. There's this Sum Stats tab, which you'll be using on your homework. There's this Scatter tab, which we'll mostly be using next class. And there's this Pivot Table class, which we'll be using next class as well. For homework, you only need this Sum Stats tab. Okay? And then finally, you'll see a tab here that says Other Data. And to the right of that, I have a bunch of other data sets that we'll make use of in the homework. Okay, so these are just other data sets that you can examine. Now, so how do you use all of this? So suppose I was interested in examining the histogram of one of these variables. For example, let's look at this. Let's look at this data set from the University of Michigan, GPA University of Michigan. Okay, and suppose I want to know how people's ACT scores are distributed in this data set. Well, so what I do is, so first, okay, very important, you need to go over to this Sum Stats page, select column C, which is the column for the data, and clear it. Okay, it's very important that you clear this column before putting any new data in. Otherwise, it potentially will not work properly. Okay, so now I've cleared this column. Okay, you can see my graph disappeared. And then I'm simply going to copy in the data that I want to examine. So let's see. Let's go back to this GPAs of the University of Michigan. Let's have a look at what ACT scores at the University of Michigan look like. So I'm going to select this column. Okay. Click the letter above the column to select the whole thing. I'm going to press Control-C on my computer. Okay, on the Mac it would be Command-C. So that'll copy that column, and then I'm going to go back over to Sum Stats, and then I'm going to select the first cell in the column, and I'm going to say Paste. Okay, so what that'll do is that'll paste in the data, and then these things, the rest of the sheet will basically update automatically. Okay, so you'll see the number of observations, so the number of people in the data set, the minimum and maximum values of the SAT score, the mean and the median value. Okay, these statistics, we're not going to delve too deeply into them. Normally, if we had a little bit more time, I would discuss these in greater detail. Okay, but I think most of you guys are aware that the mean is the average value. The median is kind of the middle value, the value that cuts the data set in half. Okay, and the variance and the standard deviation, these are measures of how spread out the data is. Okay, but most of the questions on the homework involve me asking you about the histogram. Okay, the histogram of the variable tells you how that variable is distributed. And so here you can see the histogram corresponding to ACT scores. And you can see that there, this data, you could say that it follows roughly a normal distribution or roughly a bell-shaped pattern. Okay, the key characteristic of the normal distribution is that it's symmetrical in the sense that there's roughly as many people here that have a really low ACT score as there are people who have a relatively high ACT score. Now, it's not a perfect bell curve, obviously, okay, because in the real world, normal distributions are rarely smooth like the ones I showed earlier in the video. Okay, this is a real normal distribution, not sort of an idealized one. Okay, okay, so let's say you want to look at something else. For example, let's have a look at this country stats data set. Okay, wow, look at this country stats data set. So there's a number of variables here. These refer to different countries. Okay, let's look at this one. This one is per capita income. Okay, so again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, okay, copy the column, but then once again, before I paste it in, I want to clear my previous data, paste it in, okay, and you see per capita income, the histogram looks quite different than the one we were previously looking at. This is definitely not a normal distribution, okay. Okay, so hopefully that'll get you started for the homework, okay, and we're going to use this document a lot more in the next class. All right, see you guys later.